Hi everyone, hope you're all well. For my next little video, I'm going to be working on a tiny little crystal glass, similar to the ones we've done in the past, but slightly smaller, also lead crystal, lovely and heavy. And what I've decided to do, simply because a lot of engravers out there have only got diamonds, not stones, not rubbers, or they may not want to get them yet, and they want to see what they can do just with their diamonds. There are many engravers out there who only ever use diamond burrs. So I thought that I would do a glass purely with diamonds. And this is going to be a challenge because, I can't remember the last time I did that. Of course, I always use rubbers. So I'm going to have a go with that, and it'll be a lot of fun, hopefully. Now, you may be wondering, hair slicked back, hardly any eye makeup on. It is that time of year. The grass pollen is out, and I've barely managed to get some mascara on because it's like tickling your eyeballs with a feather. And it is, they get incredibly itchy. So for about, I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks while the grass pollen is floating about. And it's worse when it's hot. Today is slightly cool, so it's not too bad. It's dampened down a little bit. But, oh my goodness gracious. Anyway, so hence the funny look. Right, so back to the glass. Here we go. And I am not a doodler, and I have decided to doodle. It's a strange thing. I don't know whether it is because I think that it's maybe a waste of energy and it's just going to go in the bin, or when you doodle, what's going to happen to it? Is someone going to see it and look into your mind and think, oh my goodness, what are they thinking? They can't even draw, or wow, they can draw better than they can engrave. That's a bit negative. But doodling, I think that people who doodle are often people that aren't even artists. I've had friends that doodle, and I'm envious. They do that a lot, and yet they don't do any other kind of art. They just sit and draw little squares and dots and dashes and the odd little funny bunny rabbit. And I don't know, it's really weird. I can remember the one day while I was on I've been on golf committees on and off for years and years, and while I was on, because I was captain and vice captain and then captain of my golf club, and I can remember the one committee meeting, and it was the men's main committee meeting, which we, as the lady vice and captain, used to attend. I had attended with the lady captain at the time when I was still vice, and every meeting she would doodle and doodle and doodle and doodle. And the one meeting I looked down, I'm not going to tell you what she was drawing, but I got the giggles, and I just giggled and giggled, and you can't do that in a serious committee meeting. Anyway, that's just, no, it wasn't as bad as it sounds, but it still wasn't that good either. Anyway, so back to what I'm doing. I decided to pick up this little glass and pick up the pen, the pencil, which is this, which you all know, the Peel Off China marker by Sharpie. There we go. Is that in focus? There you go. I've never tried to peel them. I don't know how that works actually, the peel off, but anyway, I haven't quite got there yet. They are very good, but what I did do is, first of all, I took a rubbing alcohol and I cleaned the glass so that there's no grease on it from my fingers or anything, so that the pencil would work very nicely on it, because sometimes you want to draw and it doesn't want to work. Anyway, so I decided to just doodle and doodle and doodle lots of sort of flowery, leafy, the odd little random funny insect in between, and then just slowly filling the gaps. And what I did was I started by doing randomly a flower, a flower, a flower of the same sort of kind, and then another flower, a flower, 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 and then started to fill in, if you know what I mean. And it just develops really, and I did enjoy doing that. That was fun. But I don't think I would do it on a piece of paper and just leave it lying around. No, I wouldn't. So hats off to you if you do. So I'm not sure how I'm going to be doing these. I mean, you could just do them as outlines and textures, but we're not allowed to use the rubber or a stone. Unless stone is the only thing you've got, but I'm just going to use diamonds. I will use different size diamonds. Yeah, I don't want to restrict myself to only one diamond. That's getting a little bit harsh. And besides, I've got some tiny little creatures in there. They'll have little feelers and things, and so I would want a small burr for that. Fun, eh? I could get a taste for this. Well, I hope it's going to be fun anyway, and I'm not going to get bored and frustrated. So my blue bowl that we were doing, there we go, that's still at that point, at that stage from my last video, and I will carry on with that next month. So, one little glass, and let's have some fun.
First things first, your headband magnifiers. These are Optivisor. As far as I'm concerned, they're a really good make. Get yourself a mask if you haven't got a dust extractor, or even if you have got a dust extractor. But something, of course, is important. Demonstrating once again how strong my extractor is. We'll start with a sort of a medium-sized diamond burr. This particular one happens to be a sintered diamond, which is diamond grit all the way through. I've sketched on, as you know, and I'm going to be working dry. Just slowly going over all the lines. As I said before, don't worry if you don't follow them exactly. Of course, this is just sketching, it's doodling. You're just going to go roughly along where you have done your little sketches. You may or may not notice I'll actually add in little things as I'm going along, and I will leave out bits and pieces as I am engraving. And later on, as we get into the piece more seriously, I will definitely be adding more. All my little creatures are so basic. They're so incredibly naive and like kids' drawings really, but that's what doodles are. Kiddies type drawings. Feel under no pressure whatsoever. It's a freedom feeling. The only sort of thinking pattern that I have in my mind is, as I go along, I will be engraving the spaces. So you're looking at a comfortable, even spaces and engraving areas. So when your eye is seeing it from a sort of a distance, if you like, it's an overall pattern. You can see the amount of dust that's been sucked straight up into the extractor. So for me, or if you have got an extractor that is as strong as this, you may not necessarily need a mask working with, very small pieces. But it's always best to have one. Of course, once we have gone over all the white areas, then there will be no need for the pencil, and then we will wash it all off and fill everything in with more details and fun and frolic. There will be nothing serious. You've got to think of how you are going to create half tones. And the way we will tackle that is with patterns, lines, dots, stripes, squares, cross hatches, little twirly bits. And of course, really solid areas will be solid engraving. And this is such a lovely glass, I can go as deep as I want. It's really thick and it's crystal. It doesn't have to be crystal. As you know, you can easily use an ordinary drinking glass. Just be very careful about working up to the rim where it is much, much thinner and may have a stress line. Try and avoid the very top area if you're not sure. And also there's the fact, I know I've engraved pretty much to the top here, but I'm always aware that lipstick might get into the engraving, and I do want to do some experiments with lipstick and engraving and how easily it comes out. I've never really tried, and I'd like to see how tough it is to get it out of the engraving. If it is really easy, then I will never mention it again. I think it's time I experimented. I don't know what these flowers are. They are purely fantasy. I've tried to vary the shapes and varying the shapes of the leaves. Things don't need to make sense. Looking at these leaves, they're almost like feathers. That would be fun. We can add feathers. How about this cute little worm? That must be just about done now. Not quite. For the very small, fine areas, I am using a very small diamond. And I am going to use water for this. I've already done the rest of the main engraving, and so for these last few little bits, the pencil will hang on just long enough for me to see where they all are. These little spiky bits coming out of the flowers are nothing more than just another variation of pattern in the spaces. And you'll see they come out of anywhere, whether it's out the middle of a flower or out from the leaves. It doesn't have to make sense, as I say. The tiny little legs of this little butterfly or moth or whatever it might be. Turning the glass, of course, as always, trying to get a comfortable position to either push or pull is usually the best option for these sort of lines and strokes. Going from side to side is never quite as efficient. Your hand gets in the way, your arm gets in the way, and you tend to waver. This is a cute little fantasy spider. As Bob Ross used to say, they're all living in this little world of theirs. You can see that the waxy type pencil actually stays on pretty well. I mean, I've had the water running on it for a little while and there's still quite a lot of it left on there. In fact, once I went to wash it, it actually was quite a battle to get it all off, to be honest. But now it is 99.999% off and out of the way so that I can see the engraving more clearly. I can already see lots of spaces that I would like to add something to, but I'll leave that for later. Right, large diamond now, or quite large. And the water comes out because I want to get really stuck into this and probably engrave relatively deeply, creating ridges. But of course, don't forget, we cannot use stones or rubbers. So therefore, we want lots of water. We want good diamond, good quality diamond, fresh diamond, sort of maybe even slightly less coarse diamond, only because you don't want any chippy bits, because if you do get the chippy bits, you've got to make sure you can put a diamond in your burr and get in your drill and get rid of the chippy bits. So if you're wanting to leave an area of dark clear glass, like I have done in the middle of these petals, and a very thin area, I've got to make sure that there are no chips, because there's no room for error. And but don't be scared, because I'm going quite deep. If I did want to join it up, the fact that I'm going really deep into each side of the petal means that even if the whole petal is engraved, the ridge in the middle will stand up and the shade will show up. But I do want it to stay as a little black line, as you can see, because that's quite effective. And as for the circle in the middle, that's a bit of fun. It's got a little clear blob in the middle. So I'm going quite deep around the outline of these petals. As I'm doing this, I still have no idea what I'm going to use in the way of half-tone effect, how I'm going to fill them in. I am literally making it up as I go along. This is not something that I normally do. It is, while it's fun, it's quite out of my comfort zone. So I've got myself a teeny tiny little diamond, and I have decided to do very fine straight lines down the middle, making sure that there is clear glass, adequate clear glass in between, so that it is instantly giving it a half tone from a distance. Now I'm back to the other another burr, which is slightly bigger than the very smaller one, and I am going over the top in my little swirly action. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that effect. And even though the other flowers that I've used the same shape petals, etc., I'm thinking now I may not use the same effect in the middle. I might do something completely different in the middle of each petal to create the halftone. Here I'm using that same little sort of medium-sized burr and creating my very typical simple leafy effect. Pressing quite hard so that I get the little ridges. Now these other leaves, I'm doing the same effect. Okay, I thought that was going to do a different effect. I can't remember. Okay. Keeping these big old bold leaves very simple. I'm just going over the lines. I really fat everything I've told you not to do in the past. We're breaking our rules. No, we're not breaking our rules. We're making up a different set of rules for doodling. And boy oh boy, the more I think about it, the more the opportunities, the endless subjects you can come up with on the glass under the title of doodling. And in a way, you almost get away with doing something not scrappy, but something really simplified. And as long as you call it a doodle, it'll be okay. Right, quite a small burr. I've decided to put some simple dots in these petals. And the petals are not all exactly the same size, and so if one has 2 dots and one has 3 dots, it really doesn't matter. You make it up as you go along. But of course, the water really does help to avoid those outline chips, the little chippy bits, the rough edges. We really don't want to see those, because we cannot go back with a nice little white Arkansas or anything and give it shaded edges and fix it up. But we would definitely fix it up with a diamond until it went away. If I did find any, I would make sure I correct it somehow with another diamond. So here I'm doing almost like a droplet shape, pressing quite hard and then flicking for those funny little blobby leaves or whatever they are. Come back, where you gone? Right, we've got the tiniest little ball diamond again. Not sure what I'm about to do. No. I decided to add some teeny tiny little blobs coming down the stem, just as an added extra, because why not? And sharpening up the ends of these petals, just finishing them off neatly. Tell you what you could do. I probably won't do it in this glass, but if you really felt like it, there's nothing stopping you drilling holes right through to the center of the glass, well, right through the glass. Say, for example, in the middle of the flowers, just for fun. Why not? You know, as long as nobody's going to drink out of it. If it is just something that is going to be on display, or if you feel like giving it to somebody to drink out of, and you put the little holes higher up enough, then they will dribble, and it could be quite fun. But I think these sort of glasses, really, this is a little piece of art that you can do whatever you feel like doing. I'm just going even heavier on the outside of these petals, and I'm sort of blobbing it in a little bit, almost like the petals are upturned, and put a deeper little centerpiece. Almost done too much on that flower, so I'm going to make sure I leave it there. You need to have some clear glass in the middle. I didn't like that space, so I am just adding a few blobs to the end of my spiky things. Here I've got a rat's tail, and what am I doing? I'm going up the center of my leaves, just adding a center vein to the leaves. This is quite a sharp rat's tail, so sharpen the top if you need to. I want it to be really quite deep so that it stands out nicely. So I've decided to add more of these little blobby things they're almost like little droplets at the end of the spikes. Hey, you could doodle a sort of a night sky. Now I'm thinking of astronomy, you know, planets and that sort of thing. That would be fun. Starbursts. Right, doing a deeper line up the middle of my leaves that look like modern feathers. Yeah, feathers, must do feathers. What I'm doing here is I'm going over these stems, but I also am making sure that the stems go all the way to the flower. A lot of beginner engravers tend to leave the stems floating. You can take it right up to the flower. Unless you really want to make a little dark line to show the end. Okie dokie. I think this is as far as we are going on this particular video. You can see it transforming, and I think it's going to be an awful lot of bright, cheerful fun. Do have a go. Just scribble straight onto the glass first with your pencil or your pen and get stuck in. It's so therapeutic. Thanks for watching, guys. Till the next time. Bye for now.